Nurse salary in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, the average nurse earns 12,200 SAR per month. Saudi Arabia, officially the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is a country on the Arabian Peninsula in Western Asia. The highest salary for nurse in Saudi Arabia is 18,600 SAR and lowest salary is 6,480 SAR per month. Saudi Arabia currency. The official currency of Saudi Arabia is Saudi Riyal, SR. 1 Saudi Riyal is equals to 22 Indian rupees, Indian rupee. 1 Saudi Riyal is equals to 16 peso, Philippine peso. 1 Saudi Riyal is equals to 26 cents, United States dollar. Nurse salary by cities. In Saudi Arabia, the nurse salary is depending on education, experience and specializations. In most cases, the nurse salary is determined by location. Depending on cities, the nurse salary is varied. Aba, 15,300 SAR per month. Dammam, 15,900 SAR per month. Jeddah, 16,800 SAR per month. Kubar, 15,700 SAR per month. Mecca, 16,500 SAR per month. Medina, 16,200 SAR per month. Riyadh, 17,000 SAR per month. Tabuk, 14,700 SAR per month. Taif, 15,000 SAR per month. Nurse salary by experience. The nurses with good experience earn more salary. Less than 2 years, 7,440 SAR per month. 2 to 5 years, 9,140 SAR per month. 5 to 10 years, 12,900 SAR per month. 10 to 15 years, 15,100 SAR per month. 15 to 20 years, 16,600 SAR per month. 20 plus years, 17,600 SAR per month. Nurse salary by qualification. Nurse salary with bachelor's degree, 8,410 SAR per month. Nurse salary with master's degree, 16,300 SAR per month. Nurse salary by job title or specialization. Acute care nurse, 13,800 SAR per month. Assistant Director of Nursing, 22,700 SAR per month. Case Manager, 18,500 SAR per month. Company Nurse, 10,400 SAR per month. Critical Care Nurse, 14,600 SAR per month. District Nurse, 12,300 SAR per month. Head Nurse, 14,700 SAR per month. Home Nurse, 11,700 SAR per month. ICU Registered Nurse, 13,800 per month. Informatics Nurse Specialist, 13,500 SAR per month. Licensed Practical Nurse, LPN, 12,800 SAR per month. MDS Coordinator, 14,600 SAR per month. Mental Health Nurse, 12,900 SAR per month. Neonatal Nurse Practitioner, 18,600 SAR per month. Nurse, 12,000 SAR per month. Nurse Midwife, 14,300 SAR per month. Nurse Practitioner, 16,200 SAR per month. Nurse Assistant, 11,800 SAR per month. Nursing Coordinator, 15,200 SAR per month. Nursing Director, 30,400 SAR per month. Nursing Services Instructor, 14,500 SAR per month. Nursing Supervisor, 19,100 SAR per month. Occupational Health Advisor, 23,000 SAR per month. Occupational Therapist, 20,500 SAR per month. Personal Support Worker, 9,550 SAR per month. Psychiatric nurse, 11,600 SAR per month. Registered nurse, 12,300 SAR per month. Respiratory manager, 23,400 SAR per month. School nurse, 11,400 SAR per month. Staff nurse, 12,200 SAR per month. Theater manager, 20,900 SAR per month. Utilization review nurse, 13,800 SAR per month. Jeddah. In Jeddah, staff nurse average salary is 16,800 SAR per month, lowest salary is 10,800 SAR and highest salary is 32,300 SAR per month. Nurse salary by job title. Acute care nurse, 15,200 SAR per month. Assistant Director of Nursing, 23,500 SAR per month. Case Manager, 20,000 SAR per month. Company Nurse, 11,200 SAR per month. Critical Care Nurse, 14,600 SAR per month. District Nurse, 14,100 SAR per month. Head Nurse, 16,200 SAR per month. Home Nurse, 12,400 SAR per month. ICU Registered Nurse, 14,000 per month. Informatics Nurse Specialist, 15,400 SAR per month. Licensed Practical Nurse, LPN, 13,300 SAR per month. MDS Coordinator, 14,900 SAR per month. Mental Health Nurse, 14,500 SAR per month. Neonatal Nurse Practitioner, 19,300 SAR per month. Nurse, 12,900 SAR per month. Nurse Midwife, 16,400 SAR per month. Nurse Practitioner, 16,200 SAR per month. Nurse Assistant, 12,500 SAR per month. Nursing Coordinator, 15,500 SAR per month. Nursing Director, 32,900 SAR per month. Nursing Services Instructor, 15,000 SAR per month. Nursing Supervisor, 21,100 SAR per month. Occupational Health Advisor, 26,900 SAR per month. Occupational Therapist, 22,100 SAR per month. Personal Support Worker, 10,300 SAR per month. Psychiatric Nurse, 12,800 SAR per month. Registered Nurse, 13,300 SAR per month. Respiratory Manager, 27,400 SAR per month. School Nurse, 12,000 SAR per month. Staff Nurse, 13,700 SAR per month. Theater Manager, 23,500 SAR per month. Utilization Review Nurse, 14,600 SAR per month. Riyadh. In Riyadh, nurse salary average is 17,000 SAR per month, lowest salary is 10,900 SAR per month and highest salary is 32,800 per month. Nurse salary by job title. Acute Care Nurse, 15,000 SAR per month. Assistant Director of Nursing, 24,900 SAR per month. Case Manager, 19,700 SAR per month. Company Nurse, 11,400 SAR per month. Critical Care Nurse, 15,500 SAR per month. District Nurse, 13,900 SAR per month. Head Nurse, 15,500 SAR per month. Home Nurse, 13,100 SAR per month. ICU Registered Nurse, 14,200 per month. Informatics Nurse Specialist, 15,100 SAR per month. Licensed Practical Nurse, LPN, 13,800 SAR per month. MDS Coordinator, 15,300 SAR per month. Mental Health Nurse, 13,800 SAR per month. Neonatal nurse practitioner, 19,000 SAR per month. Nurse, 13,700 SAR per month. Nurse midwife, 15,600 SAR per month. Nurse practitioner, 17,100 SAR per month. Nurse assistant, 11,900 SAR per month. Nursing coordinator, 16,300 SAR per month. Nursing director, 31,200 SAR per month. Nursing services instructor, 15,800 SAR per month. Nursing supervisor, 20,000 SAR per month. Occupational health advisor, 26,300 SAR per month. Occupational therapist, 21,200 SAR per month. Personal support worker, 10,400 SAR per month. Psychiatric nurse, 12,700 SAR per month. Registered nurse, 13,400 SAR per month. Respiratory manager, 27,100 SAR per month. School nurse, 12,600 SAR per month. Staff nurse, 13,000 SAR per month. Theater manager, 22,200 SAR per month. Utilization review nurse, 14,700 SAR per month. Medina. In Medina, nurse salary average is 16,200 SAR per month, lowest salary is 10,400 SAR per month and highest salary is 31,100 per month. Nurse salary by job title. Acute care nurse, 15,600 SAR per month. Assistant Director of Nursing, 23,200 SAR per month. Case Manager, 18,700 SAR per month. Company Nurse, 10,900 SAR per month. Critical Care Nurse, 14,200 SAR per month. District Nurse, 13,100 SAR per month. Head Nurse, 15,900 SAR per month. Home Nurse, 12,300 SAR per month. ICU Registered Nurse, 13,600 per month. Informatics Nurse Specialist, 14,600 SAR per month. Licensed Practical Nurse, LPN, 13,600 SAR per month. MDS Coordinator, 14,000 SAR per month. Mental Health Nurse, 14,400 SAR per month. Neonatal Nurse Practitioner, 18,100 SAR per month. Nurse, 12,800 SAR per month. Nurse Midwife, 16,300 SAR per month. Nurse Practitioner, 16,200 SAR per month. Nurse Assistant, 11,300 SAR per month. Nursing Coordinator, 15,500 SAR per month. Nursing Director, 29,800 SAR per month. Nursing Services Instructor, 15,100 SAR per month. Nursing Supervisor, 19,200 SAR per month. Occupational Health Advisor, 25,600 SAR per month. Occupational Therapist, 21,700 SAR per month. Personal Support Worker, 10,100 SAR per month. Psychiatric Nurse, 12,900 SAR per month. Registered Nurse, 13,100 SAR per month. Respiratory Manager, 25,500 SAR per month. School Nurse, 12,100 SAR per month. Staff Nurse, 12,600 SAR per month. Theater Manager, 21,500 SAR per month. Utilization Review Nurse, 14,400 SAR per month. Thanks for watching this video. Any questions? Comment below. Thank you all. If you like this video, like, comment and share to all. Thank you.